Okay. So briefly, I'll show you where to go find this. And if you don't do it now, and because I'm going to use Siri and stuff, we don't want to overload the internet. But I have made Wi-Fi available here. I was the one that orchestrated all the Wi-Fi coming into the classes, and we do have Wi-Fi available here in the classes. By next month, we'll probably just have it open so they'll all be meshed together. But I don't want to overwhelm it. We will later on. We'll do a true acid test again. We did this 2 months ago. We told everybody connect up and download, and it all worked okay. So KenSpencer.com, and if you click on Vote for Ken, if you click on MacNexus, these are the archive of all my classes. Empower Mac class that I did last weekend, a lot of the same stuff we're going to cover today, but that was a 3-hour iOS 7 class with about apps after it, different Renaissance, etc. And if you go to archive, all the way through here. I will post the link for that video we saw, and I'm also going to post a link about an amazing story I read just last night about how the iPhone came about, and it's compelling. It was the New York Times or New York Times Magazine, I believe it was. Incredible read, incredible. A bit long, but incredible. So anyway, if you click on MacNexus, you get all the classes I have. It's all on YouTube. It's all free. Yeah, I don't know. They might sprinkle some ads in there or something like that. I'm not getting anything for them, so you can either look at them or not, but I don't make anything off the ads. All right. iOS 7, love it or leave it. Why, Ken, did they change it? Because the original iPhone was introduced on my birthday, January 9th, 2007. Too much fanfare. And that original OS held us until a couple weeks ago. And it was getting a little staid and a little dated and a little stale. But also the change is because there's other features that are going to come. And there's some amazing features in it that aren't really cool and whiz-bang, but I'll give you a highlight of 2 things that are really, really, really good. One is called verification lock. Question? Oh. Yeah, bring them in. Get more. No. Verification lock. Is anyone familiar with what's called apple picking? Apple picking. No. That's in New York, San Francisco, where you're on the transit and you've got your white ear pods and you're listening to your iPhone and somebody comes by and snatches your iPhone. Or they hurt you, or they kill you for your iPhone. That's called apple picking. I'm a pretty big guy, and I don't get intimidated easy, but I know I was in Arizona, and it's a nice little transit thing they have by the university and stuff, but I made sure I kept my stuff down, and I was using black earbuds, just in case. Because an iPhone on the open market, well, if you had to go buy the iPhone from scratch, it's $650, because you signed up for a 2-year contract. But the thieves, come on in. The thieves can, and there's also seats over here by the table if you can't find 2 side by side. You're more than welcome anywhere you want to find. The thieves probably get, well, actually, I can take a current phone right now and take it to Gazelle, and they'll send me about $400, maybe even $500 for this 5S. Okay? So there's tremendous value there. You wouldn't sit down and put a $500 bill on your lap. You had to be careful of this. But with verification lock, if my phone gets lost or stolen, I can disable my phone remotely, or I can go in here, and if they hit my passcode too many times, I can disable it. And the big thing is, the phone is so locked that they can't turn it off without a passcode. They can't reset it. The only thing that'll make it so you can't track and find your phone is if the battery dies. But still, if the battery dies and somebody charges it back up and they want to sell it on the gray market, it's no good because it cannot be activated without your Apple ID and password. This is huge. I really think, and believe me, I hope Android follows suit. I think they will. You know, Apple's the trendsetter on this. it was so important, and this isn't just the new phone, this is iOS 7. It's so important that when the people were waiting in line to get their new iPhones in New York, the New York Police Department handed out flyers telling everybody, please upgrade to iOS 7 because of this. So, it's nothing that's going to wow you, but anybody who's had a phone stolen, Charlie, lost, whatever, the smart thieves will realize really quick it has no value. The even smarter thieves will sell it to people that don't know better, and then they can't activate it, but I guarantee you that Apple's going to start advertising it, because that's the only way the word's going to get out there. Keith, you have a question?
Doesn't iOS 6 have similar features?
It's a lock. It's a lock. iOS 6 had it where you can lock your phone, you can erase your phone, but they can still shut it off, they can still reboot it. It has total value. I could take an iOS 6 phone right now and have it ready for me in 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
I can't do it in iOS 7. So this is another reason to have a passcode on your phone, but it's also another reason to make sure you remember your Apple ID and your Apple password. But that's another feature that's going to get cured in iOS 7 going forward. There's a thing called keychain in the cloud. And I don't mean we're just dangling keys. The way on our Mac we have a thing called a keychain. In iOS 7 we now have Safari keychains. But what's going to happen is, if I go to Bob's Burgers online ordering on my computer and I have a username and password I create, or it creates a super long password that I don't have to remember, it remembers it. Next time I go to Bob's Burgers online ordering on my iPhone, that password automatically fills from my other device. It's totally cross-platform, and the best thing is it's stored up in the cloud. The one step beyond that is, if I want to enter that password, this isn't there yet, but it's coming very soon. When I go to Bob's Burgers online and it says, oh, you need your username and password, on the 5S, I simply press my thumb on there, it reads my fingerprint. And that will insert the password that's stored on the phone. And a long, very secure password. How many here are in password hell? Okay, I get those calls, okay, this password, what variation is it? And then we start using the same password everywhere because we have to remember it. This is going to help with all that dramatically. That's one reason why the 5S is, I think, superior over the 5C. The 5C, as Rocky pointed out, is $50 on contract. The 5S is $199 on contract. But remember, 2 years from now when you sell your phone, legally sell your phone, you can... So what you can do is when you go to sell your phone, you log in with your Apple ID and you say, okay, erase all my data. As long as you have your Apple ID and your password, you can erase the data on the phone, and then it becomes available to someone else. And in fact, it's just like it came from the factory. I sell my phone every year, and I get more for my phone for sale than I do pay for the new phone. So they have value because people want to buy them without a contract. iPads, not so much because there's no contract involved. So verification lock and keychain in the iCloud. How many here were former Mobile Me users who didn't take care of their extra storage yet? Okay, make sure if you got those letters saying you're using 16 gigabytes of your 25. I should say, ironically, Pete Losey couldn't be here today. It's some issues with all the stuff going on behind the scenes as far as that. Pete will still, he's resigned from the board. He's resigned as a member, but I think he'll still probably teach classes. We don't know, but it's because of all the stuff going on. That's all I'm going to say. But unfortunately, he's not here today. But it came up. I emailed Pete, and I got a bounce back. Says you're over quota. So I texted him real quick, and he says, "Oh man, I didn't take care of that." So you're in good company if you didn't take care of it, because Pete's about as sharp as they get, and he hadn't taken care of his. So if you haven't taken care of it, if you're under the 5 gigabytes you get for free, you're okay. If you're over that, see me afterwards. I'll tell you how to take care of it and stuff. And make sure, because your mail is stored there. If you're using the Mobile Me mail or me.com or mac.com or iCloud.com, you could get mail that's bouncing. So that ended September 30th. But iCloud's still available. You get 5 gigabytes for free. You get an additional 20 gigabytes for $40 a year. It's a good deal. I get 20% off on mine. Anybody know how? Well, I'm Ken. I buy iTunes gift cards when they're on sale. And I stock them up. So therefore, when I pay for my iCloud or I pay for an app, or when Mavericks comes out for here, we think sometime this month, $19.99, I'm only going to pay about $16, $17 for it because I have credit with all those iTunes gift cards that I buy for 20% off. So they're out and about and they're in different places. So if you see iTunes gift cards on sale, get them. They're also nice to have in case you get around Christmas time and somebody comes to your house and they say, they brought you this, they're re-gifting a gift that they got and they bring it to you and you forgot to give them a gift. Oh, look, I have an iTunes gift card. So you'll give them that $50 iTunes gift card that you only paid $40 for and you look like a hero. But if you don't get any of those surprise gifts at Christmas, about January 1st or so, you just deposit them in your account. By the way, in iOS 7 and on your computer, the back of the iTunes gift card, when you scratch the little thing, like scratching the lotto ticket off the back, you hold that number up to the camera and you go into iTunes and hit redeem. You hold that number up to the camera and it will read the number and redeem it for you like that. Apple makes it really easy for you to spend your money. But why not? That's also because the iTunes gift cards, or iTunes itself, has so many credit cards. That's why they're going to more and more secure passwords. Because as we find out, it's doing more and more things. So, iOS 7, another huge thing is iTunes Radio. How many here use Pandora? Okay. It's very similar to Pandora, which is streaming music. So, streaming music on iTunes Radio. I haven't set up any radios yet, but you can say, I want to have a radio station called Norah Jones, for instance, or Bob Dylan, or the Beatles. They're on there. And it's just like Pandora, where you stream the music over your device. Yes, it uses your data. If you're at home on Wi-Fi, you're okay. And it will sync between all your devices, so all your little playlists will sync between your devices and you'll have them ready for you. But they don't live on your device, they're coming down from the cloud. It's free with some ads. If you choose no ads, we have some chairs up here if you want. If you want no ads, you pay $25 a year. That's called iTunes Match. And with that $25 a year, on your Apple device, on your Macs, actually even on your PC, but on your Macs, it takes all of your iTunes content, regardless of how you acquired it. Some little guy came up and said, some big guy, want to buy a CD? And you put those into iTunes, and ever since then, every time you listen to a song, you kind of pull a sheet over your heads and go, no, I didn't really buy that the full way. Everything in your iTunes library, no matter how you acquired it, even the old Napster days, gets up to 25,000 songs, gets uploaded to your spot on the iTunes cloud. It resamples the music and makes it a higher quality and sends it down. So for $25 a year, you've bought amnesty. Apple worked with the record companies and said, you're not getting any money from these people anyway. Yeah, they're buying some songs now, but they have this old stuff. You're never going to get money off of that. Hey, let's do this. You only have to buy it 1 year to get it to clean up your library, but now iTunes Radio, that same $25 makes it so you'll be able to stream iTunes Radio for free with $25 with no ads. iTunes Radio is very, very good and very cool. If you listen to a song and you do want to buy it, obviously when the song's going there, Apple makes it really easy for you to buy that song if you want. Anybody used iTunes Radio yet? Al, what do you think?
I like it.
Were you a Pandora user? And still but 1 and 1 or better on this? Or
1 and 1. I'm still kind of
yeah.
setting up all my stations.
Yeah, so he's customizing it for himself. So any other positives, negatives on iTunes Radio? Cool. It's built into the iOS. And it's available on the Mac too.
But this is only for music. You can't get radio stations in some other city to get local news or the local sports broadcast.
The question is can I get other radio stations? Yeah, because this is not a terrestrial radio station. This is essentially an on-demand type radio station. But there's some incredible apps that you can get. I was just going to say iHeart. Every Clear Channel radio station, which is about most of them, is available on iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio is fantastic. Believe it or not, AOL radio is good. There's TuneIn radio. And also, if there's a particular radio station, most of the time they'll even have an app for that radio station, and you go there. So if you just Google it and find out and see, they'll usually have an app, and you can stream it down. Now, of course, you don't get on demand. You're just like the car radio. Whatever they're playing, including the ads. All right. Probably the most important thing you can do on your iOS device, which is your iPad, your iPhone, your iPod Touch, is use the built-in help. And I'm going to show you this on the screen, and then you guys can do this at your leisure because it's pretty darn easy, and I'll create a link on how to do this. But if I go to my iPad, I'm untethered, and I'm going to go to Safari. Hard to get used to the new Safari logo. I keep missing it. Come on in. We've got some seats around here scattered. So if I go to Safari, a friend of mine's birthday, so I was sent her that photo this morning. Her name's Kathy, luckily. So if I go to the very top where the URL bar is, and I start typing help.apple.com/, okay? help.apple.com/. If I'm on an iPad, after that, I'm going to press iPad. IP.
It says help.
Oh, yeah, HEP. No wonder it did an autofill. Thank you. See how I need Siri to help me with all this. I need Siri to help me with all this. So mine will autofill because I already have it bookmarked. But what I do is help.apple.com/iPad. On the iPhone, it's help, surprisingly enough, help.apple.com/iPhone. So I'm going to hit go. And if the internet's cooperating, which it seems to be. By the way, you know how we used to have the blue bar go across when it was loading pages? What happens now is the blue bar is right within the tab itself. It's not as prevalent as it was, but you'll see if it's loading or not. So, this is an interactive guide to your iPad. Now, the coolest thing is if you had this in there before and you had iOS 6, it detects that you're running iOS 7. And this interactive guide applies to iOS 7. I'm going to show you how interactive the guide is in a second, but what I want to point out is right up here, this is that little curved arrow we used to have. Now it's very subtle. It's a little box with an up arrow, and I tap that, and I want to say add to home screen. So watch what happens when I hit add to home screen. This is the logo. And when I hit add, it becomes this on my home screen. It looks like an app, but it's really a Safari bookmark. So that tells me I can take if I go to certain sites all the time, the MacNexus site or something like that, I can add it to my home screen. It looks like an app, but watch what happens when I hit this app here. Quote, it's a bookmark. It fires up Safari, and I need to get my Jeopardy song up, I think, because we're kind of waiting for the internet. All right. So in this interactive guide, if I tap iPad at a glance, well, actually, let's go down here to, we got new mail, let's say. Oh, actually, here's music. So if I hit music, then I have subcategories, iTunes Radio. And it tells me all about iTunes Radio. Now, the beauty of this is it's not fixed in your device. It's constantly morphing. So as they come up with changes to the operating system or something, it'll be reflected here. So help.apple.com/iPad or iPhone, and then you want to add it to your home screen.
How do you add it to your home screen?
I'll go back to that page. So if I go into Safari, if you look up here, see, are you running iOS 7?
Yes.
Okay, see this little, and we did this in 6 also.
I see it. Yeah.
Right there, hit that little dot, and then you get this right here, add to home screen.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay? Go ahead.
I'm here in part because I have a touch. I know this is all about.
If you have iOS 7, if your touch qualifies for iOS 7, virtually everything I'm gonna, and I don't have a touch, but I would imagine it's going to be help.apple.com/iPod. Now that's just my guess, but I think it will. Again, it runs iOS, so it should be the same. Go ahead.
Yes, I can't get in. It says my iPad isn't connected to the internet, but I set it up on settings.
You connected to our Wi-Fi?
Yes.
We may be out of IP addresses. How much did you pay today? I'm just kidding. You know, if you think about it, I have 3 devices on. Most people have 1 or 2. You may not be able to connect to it. Is everybody else having that trouble
It
too?
says I'm connected. Well, that's what
I'm always.
Okay.
I have no problem.
Okay. It's you know we have what 55 people in here today, so we may be overloading it, and it's actually, I mean, it's so much better than it was before. We used to get 5 people on, so I apologize for that. It will be on the recording, and I'll make sure I spell it out for you, okay? Because it's a lot easier than trying to do it here because it really slows everybody down. So, was that your question back there too?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. On the iPhone, it looks a little different, but it's the same thing. It's the same logo right here. If I tap that, you'll notice you don't have this menu on the side. Here you've got it because the screen's so narrow. iPhones are designed to be in portrait mode, where iPads are designed to be in landscape. If I click on these little lines up here, I get my table of contents. Okay? Those little lines up there. So it's the same thing. And again, a year from now when iOS 8 comes out, which probably won't be as revolutionary, hopefully it'll be just evolutionary, this will automatically detect what OS you're running. If you're running iOS 6, it's fine to use the same thing, help.apple, and it'll detect you're using iOS 6. Okay. To me, Apple's not good, and I don't know why they don't install that on every device, but I found that a couple of years ago, and it's great, and it is Apple. All right. Who here in iOS 6 used Spotlight? Where you hit the home button and it goes all black. What's that? But you can search anywhere on your thing here. Anybody know how you find it in iOS 7? How? Perfect, good answer. So we go to the home screen. Remember, you used to hit the home button again and then it slid out of the way. So I'm going to tap anywhere in the middle of the screen and pull down, and I get Spotlight. What is Spotlight? Spotlight searches everything in your device. If you have a PDF on there and you say Samsung, oh wait, that's a dirty word. If you say Budweiser, and it's in a PDF, every iteration of that word would come up. Okay? So it's anywhere, don't hit the bottom, don't hit the top, hit right. I'm going to grab right here and pull down. Oops, I went too far on the top. This hand didn't go too hard, the other one did. There. Okay, my hands will never leave my wrist while doing this, I promise. Anywhere in the center. I don't want it to be at the top. If I pull from the top, I get my notification center. And if I go up from the bottom, I get my control panel, or control center we're going to talk about. Just anywhere in the center and pull down. Okay? If you have iOS 7, you can play with that. You don't need the internet for that. So let's talk about, let's see what I can search for. Actually, I'll search for sharks. So I search sharks, and I have events. Today's the game. And if I go down here, there's some mail. I'm on a Sharks message group that Keith's on also, I think. And there's some messages to my nephew. He's a Vancouver fan, so we go back and forth on that. And these are all things that contain the word sharks in them. So that's in my Spotlight. I can also search for apps. I have a ton of apps. So I can go to my phone and say, actually I'll do one. How many photographers do we have here? Okay. Al turned me on to a great app called the Photographer's Ephemeris, and I just type in TPE, and there the app comes up. Shows you what angle the sun rises and sunsets from in the golden hour. It's very effective. If you're going to a spot, you can go ahead of time and find out where it is. And I have different spots. I take my sunrise and sunsets and I have them keyed in, and it tells me certain times of the year the sun comes in good directions. So that's a great one. So that's Spotlight. Now, I'm going to show you the iPad first. I'm going to take this is the bezel, and I'm going to go below the screen, off the screen. If you have one of those keyboards, you might not be able to, but I'm going to simply go, I'm too simply, I guess. Oh. There we go. Sorry, I feel like I'm doing jumping jacks up here. This is Control Center. Every one of these can be gotten to, well, most of these can be gotten to via your settings. So you start at the bottom and push up. Who doesn't have that? From the bottom up. Off the edge up. Now, let's see what this is. If I have songs or music going, I can start and stop it. I have my volume controls here. Airplane mode, if you're going on an airplane and you need to turn all your Wi-Fi off or all your radios, if you're on your iPhone and you don't want to get charged internationally for cellular data, your Wi-Fi on and off, your Bluetooth on and off. This shows you where the nearest outhouse is. What's that really do? Anybody know?
Silence.
Who said do not disturb? You get your feedback. Do not disturb. What the do not disturb setting is you can set your device, especially your phone, you can say do not disturb me, but you can set your do not disturb to say I have an 89-year-old mother, and believe me, if I get a call in the middle of the night, I want to be disturbed. So I can set it to allow calls through from everybody in my address book or certain people in my address book and have it come through my do not disturb when I have do not disturb on. You can turn it on and off from here. You can also schedule your do not disturb. So in that little help thing, they talk about the do not disturb quite extensively. The next one is screen rotation. Does anybody have a little thing that looks like a bell with a line through it there? Okay, what that means is you have taken your screen and you're letting this little mute button, you know, on the upper right-hand corner there, you've made that lock your screen instead of muting. So this, for most of the people, makes it so your screen doesn't rotate. Okay? If you have it so you've selected in settings, make that button lock my screen. When you touch this, it'll mute and unmute in your device. So,
Mine is unlocked and this is blocked.
yeah. So that'll lock it. But if you have the ability to lock it, those of you with a bell means you've made this little button not lock and unlock. You've in fact told this button, or you've told it to lock and unlock, not mute and not mute.
Yes, it won't go back now.
Did you slide the slider or did you tap that?
I tapped that.
You won't tap it again? Tap it again?
It's frozen now.
Well, it's maybe this area. Oh no, yours is a bell. Yours is mute, that's why. Yours is a bell too.
But
You don't have it on yours because that doesn't have a rotation lock. You have to go into settings. That's only that's an iPad only settings. All right. So in your case, you slip that little slider back and forth. All right. Going over here, this is a clock, so I can go into my alarm. By the way, if you have Do Not Disturb on, or you use the mute button on your phone or your iPad or your iPod Touch, if you have the button on mute and you set an alarm, it will wake you. It will ring. Okay? Also, if you set a timer. The last one is camera. You have another way to get to your camera here. I'm going to show you a different way to get to your camera. Then down here is AirDrop, which is going to come in Mavericks. I can send files to and from my devices. I can also send it to here. And I can send, you know that commercial where you go up and bump somebody? Well, if we were all on the same Wi-Fi network and you had AirDrop, actually, Al, do you turn on AirDrop and say everyone? Just for now, and I'm going to see if you show up. AirDrop. Do you have it on? So when I go into AirDrop to share this link, well, my phone shows up, and anybody else would show up here, and I would tap that and send the link to that person. AirDrop will do, oh, there we go. Barbara's iTouch, iPod Touch. She has AirDrop on, so I could send this. In other words, remember how I said add to home screen? If I tap hers, oh, there's Gail's. Now you have that little bookmark. You can send a photo that way and everything else, and then you have to accept it. You'll have that with your Mac too. It doesn't have to be other people. But look how far away they are. They won't let me come up and bump them. I don't have to. I'm right next to them. Oh, now we got everybody. Pete's mini iPad. I thought Pete wasn't here. Just kidding. Jim, Deshaun, I see that. So anyway, so I would recommend going back to your AirDrop settings. And in AirDrop, you can say contacts only. And what that means is you're not going to be at Starbucks and all of a sudden pop up and somebody else says you have something. Well, that's interesting. AirPlay's different. I'm going to go to that in a second. Now, if you have an older iPhone or an older device, you may not have AirDrop. It's only on new, I don't even think 4S. I think it's 5 and newer. And iPad mini, etc. So that could be why you don't have AirDrop.
I don't have one.
Then you have an iPad 2 or 3? 2, okay, so you don't have Siri either then.
Oh, not in here, but I do
Right.
have one.
The next one is AirPlay. How many here have Apple TVs at home? Apple TVs? The little hockey puck device that's about this sized? So AirPlay means I can send anything I have up to that device. I have a Yamaha receiver at home that has AirPlay. This speaker's AirPlay. I can transmit wirelessly from my device. The cool thing is with AirPlay, if you go to somebody else's house and they have AirPlay, you can do that to them. You don't have to have credentials because all you're doing is streaming something on this device to them. Okay?
Is AirPlay like AirDrop? It's limited to iPad minis?
Good question. No, it's not limited. AirDrop should be available to everyone because it's actually part of iTunes, and if you're in iOS 7, it should show up here. Does it not?
In the control panel?
Right, the control center. When you push up on your control center, what device do you have? No, just from the bottom. Just go up from the bottom. We'll check it later.
He doesn't have, he doesn't have AirPlay.
Okay. You should have AirPlay. You may not have activated it yet. We'll check into that. And also, you're probably, if you're not on, yeah, you may not be on the Wi-Fi. So I'll check into those. The last one is screen brightness. We finally have a quick, easy way to adjust the brightness of our screen, which of course doesn't really show up on the computer here. No, it works on your device. So let's get control center back out of the way. I either swipe down or I just hit the home button. Control center. The idea is it's your most used things. On the iPhone, it's a little different. Oh, actually, we do have it now. So this is, I have a podcast with Clark Howard. Who listens to Clark Howard here? He's a the nicest talk show host you'll ever have. Well, not talk show, radio, about how to get things inexpensively and things like that. He's great. I'm a real frugal person. But now we have a flashlight on our phone. You don't have to get those free flashlight apps, and you know what? It's a pretty damn good flashlight. Don't forget to turn it off, although it doesn't do too bad with battery usage because it's an LED. That only works on the iPhone if you have a flash. Okay? It won't work on an iPad. It won't work on an iPod Touch. It'll only work on a device that has a flash. Again, we have an alarm clock. I use my alarm clock all the time. We have a calculator. And since day one, and it won't show on the screen, but when I rotate this, it becomes a scientific calculator. Obviously, it'll twist. You know, you're not having to calculate uphill here. but it's a scientific calculator if it's in horizontal mode. Apple had that since day one. I think it's pretty cool. So back to Control Center. We have a camera also, but all the other settings are the same. So let me show you how to get to your camera from the lock screen, because how many times is it like, oh, I got to unlock my phone, I got to do this to get my camera in. The baby's not doing the cool thing anymore, or the monkey's doing something different. So if I'm in my lock screen and I hit my home button, right here, there's a little camera. If I slide up on that camera, I get my camera. Hello. Okay? The cool thing is, though, is you have a lock on your device, and you can hand this to someone. They can't see your whole camera roll. They can take pictures for you. Hopefully they don't steal your phone. But they take pictures for you, and the only pictures they can see are the ones that were taken while it was unlocked that way. They cannot get back into your device. Okay? So again, from the lock screen, I'll do it on the iPad. Oh, anyway, here, I'm going to grab that camera and slide up. I'm just going to tap it and slide up from below the bezel. Okay? Same thing on the iPad. Boom. All right? So, if you go towards the center with it locked, you're going to get Control Center even if your phone's locked or your iOS device is locked. You'll still get Control Center, so you can quickly get to that flashlight. Okay? Or turn your music off or play your music from your lock screen. That's what the home screen. This is called the lock screen. How do I get what?
When you're off,
If I want, you mean the Control Center or the camera?
the flashlight, the control center.
Okay, come off the bezel, hit your button to turn it on, and then slide up. Just like you did before, but I just want to point out that it's available from the lock screen.
It's on the wallpaper page too. Whatever with the clock. That's what I couldn't find that at first.
Oh, right, okay.
The flashlight's only on the iPhone.
Only things that have a flash. You don't have a flash on this. How do you turn it on? Slide up, get Control Center up, and just tap the little flashlight that's there.
No, it's on the iPads.
iPad doesn't have a flashlight.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't have a flash on it. Huh. Sorry. Maybe you have to get one of those free flashlight apps on yours. Oh, you might have an issue then. Have you restarted your phone? You know, when things get weird, make sure you restart your phone or your device. Sometimes that happens. Okay. All right. So, Siri is the key to the kingdom. Siri is the bomb. And we all know it's hard to type on these devices, it's hard to do different things, but if you spend the investment of time you spend learning Siri will pay rewards hugely now and down the road. It does take some time. It's getting better all the time. It's no longer in beta. But I'm going to show you before Siri, we're going to show it what you have if I'm going to do a message. So I'll hit Mail, and I'll hit New Message. Now, I don't use Siri to fill in the names that are in my address book because it's so easy to just type them in. But if I go and click in the body, I have a little microphone here. If you're connected to the internet and your device has Siri, this is speech to text dictation, and it's literal. Okay? It will type what I say, hopefully. It requires an internet connection, and I'll show you how it works in a second. This class is amazing, comma, standing room only, exclamation mark. New paragraph. Don't forget, comma, you must speak your punctuation, exclamation mark. So, I have big fat fingers, along with other things, but I have big fat fingers and I didn't have to type. I clicked the microphone, I wait for it to beep, and then I start talking, period. New paragraph. Don't forget to speak your punctuation, exclamation mark. New line. It will allow me to speak for up to 30 seconds at a time, comma, and after that it will time out, period. At that point, you can start off where you left off. Start back where you left off, period.
Hey, Ken, could I just make a
Come on in, perfect timing.
I'm your MacNexus election commissioner. I want to remind you that we have an election running, and so far only 57 people have voted. Please try to vote. All you need is your membership number, which you have on your card, or if you can't find it, Bob will give it to you. And your zip code at home, which you ought to know.
And didn't Bob bring some ballots with him, I believe?
There are only 10 ballots here, so if you all run down to the vote rate, you won't be able to do it. But there are 10 ballots, you can look at them. Everybody knows he's running for president.
Along with Richard.
Along with Richard. So I'm just encouraging everyone to vote. As you probably heard me speak at the meeting, if we don't get a quorum, we have to do the whole thing over again. So please vote.
Please, let's not have
It
that.
just takes 1 minute. I was the first person to vote, by the way.
How many here would vote by paper ballot if they could today? So is there any chance we can get a few more run off?
We'll see.
Because there is a printer down there, right?
Yeah, question.
Can you mention something about Pete Lovely? Is he
He's still on the ballot, but
He's still on
is...
the ballot, and it's valid to vote for him. Just so you know, I think he's resigned.
But just so you know, it won't... You can vote for him if you'd like, but both Rocky and Tara and Pete were running for 2 spots, and there's only 2 left. So you're not throwing away that vote if you decide to. It's up to you, though. Tara's done a good job. Rocky, I think, did a great job when he was on the board, and he's back. So you're not... The only one that's in contention really is the presidency.
Right, exactly. And I decided if it was the real world, we couldn't change the ballot. And by the time we found out that he wasn't going to accept the office, 25 people had already voted, and I couldn't change
Yeah.
go back.
But it won't affect the outcome because there's only 2 people running for that spot,
It's not
for the
gonna
2
change
spots.
anything anyway. Any other questions?
Yeah, for those of us who don't know what was going on, where can we find out the situation?
What situation?
Something about Pete Lovely resigning?
Nobody knows anything. It's a private matter. I think it relates to his employment.
No, it doesn't.
But it's private.
It's not going to be made public. I don't even know.
Well, he's not asking it to not be made public.
Okay.
All right? Please
Okay.
vote.
Thank you.
question? If he's not asking it to be made, not to be made public, are you going to share it with us?
Ask me a question.
What happened? Because we all really love Pete so much.
Well,
You're recording, by the way.
I never say anything that's not true. Never. Pete got pretty fed up with all the caustic nature and the clash of personalities that's going on behind the scenes in the board, and it's bad. And he decided that it's just not worth it. And I would like to decide that, but I care for the club too much. And I mean, I'm persevering because of the club, and that's just all I'm.
That's sad. Kim, if there's a chance that the membership of the board and the president and so forth changes, would that, do you think that might?
I don't know. I mean, that's a deal with Pete, and frankly, Pete and I are great friends, and that's up to Pete. I mean, a lot of damage has been done. So, and I'm sad for
I
that.
hope people apologize and forgive each other. That's a
I hope so too. I'm not encouraged, but I hope so. All right, enough of that. I'm trying to take the high ground. Like we said, pioneers are the first ones there, isn't there back, right? Anyway, sorry for that downer on that, but please do vote, and I think it's appropriate for them to do it. You can go downstairs, you can fill out the ballot. They'll have an envelope, so it'll be anonymous, which is good. It's a lot easier than trying to navigate it online because people do forget their member number. And again, really, this is your club. I mean, I'm a member. I've been a member for quite a while. I'm on the board. We have to make our voice heard in this regard. Okay? So this is speech-to-text dictation, and it's simple, literal speech-to-text. So if I say, I'm drunk, new paragraph, well, I need a jacket today, question mark. Siri, or dictation, types it exactly like it is. But let's transition into Siri for a minute. And think about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do I have to do the address first?
No, you can, I'm just doing this because an address just gets garbled and you don't want it doesn't do proper names really well. If you say Ken, sometimes
So
it
I
says
need to
Ken.
type in the address I'm saying?
Yeah, you have to do part still that. But actually, when I show you Siri, you don't have to. So I'm just trying to show you speech to text.
Okay, thanks.
Now let's talk one sec. What this is doing is, it records what I'm saying for up to 30 seconds. It sends it out over the internet to Maiden, North Carolina, where Apple has $1 billion server facility. And it says, I've got this little snippet of voice. I'm going to turn it into text. I'm going to consult a dictionary first, because that'll help me. If he mumbled, I'll find out it's a real word, and you'll never get back a misspelling. And boom, it comes to my device. Think about that for a second. Okay. Boom. Boom. It's huge. Now, the next step of Siri is to couple artificial intelligence with that. So that is simple speech to text, and it's literal. I said, I'm drunk, and I said, well, I need a jacket today. So now I'm going to take that same phrase, and I'm going to activate Siri. Don't all do this, because we're all going to hear each other's things going, but I'm going to press and hold the home button and say, oh, hang on here.
Supposed to go through here. Sorry. No.
I want to make it go through the speaker for us. So. All right. Sorry.
Looking.
I'm drunk.
Neither of us is driving home.
Bob should remind me I'm being recorded. I don't drink. Can you imagine if I had a beer belly? So we typed I'm drunk, and the dictation typed I'm drunk. I told Siri I'm drunk, and she said, no, maybe you shouldn't drive. But you'll notice it says call me a taxi.
Yeah.
So if I tap that,
I found 9 cab companies. Tap the one you want to call.
now, right now, that's cab companies. In the not too distant future, you know the cab's going to have a GPS. That's GPS location to where you are. So, let's take our other thing. Will I need a jacket today? Will I need a jacket today?
The low will be 32 degrees Fahrenheit today.
I didn't say what the low is going to be. What's the current temperature in Paris, France?
The high temperature for today in Paris, France will be 66 degrees Fahrenheit, and the low will be 55 degrees Fahrenheit.
Ooh, 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Convert 55 degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius.
Let me think. 55 degrees Fahrenheit converts to about 12.8 degrees Celsius.
I'm going to be in France. Convert $350 US to euros.
Let me think. 350 US dollars converts to about 258.19 euros.
Now, if you're in Paris, this will work when you're at a Wi-Fi cafe, but remember, you have to be connected to the internet. And it goes all the way from Paris over to Maiden, North Carolina, and then goes back. But you know what? It goes in pretty quick speed. It's not like the satellite news shows where they talk to the anchor and then they say, well, what do you think? Well, yeah, I really like that. And the anchors start to go ahead.
Sometimes when I'm trying to use Siri, it says I don't have time, like, or I can't do that right now, or something similar to that, and I'm wondering.
That never happens.
It's you. It's James.
Have you ever been to North Carolina?
No.
Oh. What happens is, now again, we're complaining about sometimes it doesn't work. Look at what it's doing, but the idea is first of all, if you don't have a persistent internet connection, that can be a problem. Siri itself, and again, you've got your connection here to your provider, to the internet, to them, to North Carolina, and then it got to come back.
Yeah.
So there may be issues. Sometimes she's overloaded. Sometimes it's just not available. It's gotten better over time. I have noticed since the new phones came out, there have been more times than not that it's been an issue. If it's happening consistently, reboot your device.
Just turning it off and on.
So on the top you have a sleep wake button, but if you press and hold, you get to slide off. I'm not going to do it, but you slide off, and then you'll get a little spinning gear until it shuts off. Then turn it back on. I had that happen on my iPad a few times. So, but otherwise, there can be some problems with it. But Apple is actually building 2 more huge data centers, one in Reno and one up in Oregon. So they anticipate a lot more traffic for a lot of other reasons that are coming up.
Is that similar when you try to call emergency services with Siri? Because a year ago when there was a fire on Watt Avenue, we were right there and we tried to call with Siri the fire department and we couldn't get through. It didn't know what we were
Did you say
talking
call 911?
about. I don't know if we actually called it.
Okay.
I just asked 911.
Let's all try that.
Yeah. But yeah, this was a while ago when there was a fire.
Yeah, it's just Siri is a component. In that case, grab your phone and just dial 911.
Yeah.
I missed a step here, I couldn't get to Siri, but how do I get to Siri?
Okay, don't do it. Yeah, and we can do it for a second here, but you press and hold the home button. So let's talk about it a second. Watch the screen. I'm going to press and hold the home button. I wait until she beeps. I let go of the button, and I need to start talking fairly quickly and be ready with what you want to say. But the thing is, she's not real patient because she knows that you're going to be hands-free and stuff. When I did the dictation, remember I hit the microphone? I can take as long as I want with that. With Siri, she wants to be able to move on to another task when you're done talking because otherwise it seems like forever. So you press and hold the home button. What can I say? And this is one thing you'll want. What can I say? You'll notice there's a little question mark right here too. But these are all the things. So the way I like to equate this is, think about a business and office environment. You've got an executive in an office here, and you've got an assistant out in the outer office. I wouldn't say, Paris, France. She'd say, Daddy's going crazy again. He'd say to her, going crazy again. No. Or, lunch Tuesday. I would say, schedule lunch with Tom on Tuesday for me, please. Siri is your assistant out there. And I would speak what I want, my action. Okay? So, let's schedule test today at noon.
Okay, I can create your meeting. Note that you already have 3 events that overlap with this. Shall I schedule it anyway?
No, cancel.
Okay then, I will create the event.
Sometimes you'll say, that's okay, you're too busy anyway. Well, now let's talk about this a second. Siri, better or worse, has a personality. Think about Apple. When they built in things like this rubber banding effect, everybody else would have just gone, goom, boom, real mechanical and stuff. Apple gave Siri a personality because if we were talking to a monotronic voice, we would not embrace Siri, and we wouldn't feel comfortable with it. With a little bit of attitude, you kind of embrace, okay, I'm okay with Siri. If she was unfeeling and uncaring, it's an inanimate object I'm talking about, but it just seems to make it easier to cope with and to not be intimidated. And we go back to the kid that used Proloquo and how unintimidating the iPad was for him to verbalize. I don't know if those of you that came to the general meeting when I arranged for a gentleman, Shane Snyder, that's the senior coordinator for the Sacramento Society for the Blind. He can use his iPhone as well as I can, and he's blind. And in fact, nothing shows up on his screen. I can't use his iPhone with nothing showing up on the screen, but he can. And it's all because of Siri, and it reads back things. So the one key to Siri is there's always this little question mark right here. You can tap that, and it comes up. And let's look at this. Call Brian. These are generic names they put in here. Call Brian. FaceTime Lisa. By the way, FaceTime in iOS 7 now is not just video. You can do audio calls over FaceTime, so you don't eat up all that bandwidth, and you're more likely to get a connection. Launch apps. It turned out I looked at it, I had 867 apps on my phone. Launch Sun GPS.
Here's what I found on the web.
Oh. Launch Sun GPS. So when I just tapped the microphone, and there's my Sun GPS app. Shows me sunrise, sunset, etc.
Tim,
Yes.
did you read the Beat today? They have Meet the Voice of Siri with an article about it.
Susan Bennett is her name. And now that the world knows who my girlfriend is, I guess the secret's out. Did she mention me in the article? And what's funny is, though, we have a new Siri. She was the old Siri. I still miss the old Siri. But we have a new Siri. But what happens, Siri's voice is more lifelike, and it's a great article. It's actually online, too. And I'll make sure I link to that when I link to the other things that I'm going to do. Hopefully I remember. Somebody can email me. Remember how the lady was doing the languages? And there were phrases on that video? Siri's the same way. It's a phrase, and this lady reads into it. She has a very pleasant voice. And what happens is, this big computer puts it all together for us, okay? And I've been looking at the clock back there. I think 10:20 is our break, right? Well, we're only at 8 o'clock, so we got we're 5 minutes to 8, so we got plenty of time. I'm going to keep you here until you vote. No. I didn't say vote for me. I said until you vote. Look at what? I'm sorry? Yeah, I know. Well, actually, bring that up. I'm going to do a reminder. So we had to do how to do an appointment, right? I don't go into my calendar. You guys were talking about how you can't see anything in the calendar anymore and that. How many here are calendar users? How many use Siri to put things in your calendar? How many will now? You're going to want to have reasons to fill it up, just for fun. But let me show you in calendar. There's a little change in calendar before I get off this in iOS. I used to use List because I have my things coming up. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you see a magnifying glass. Even though that's search, what happens is when I tap it, it's search and a list. Okay? All right? So you tap and then you hit done. So that's how you get a list. I like to see list because I know what my upcoming appointments are. Or I can say, when's my next appointment?
Your next appointment is at 7:30 p.m. today.
Okay? So I'm going to make a reminder now. Scheduling on your calendar puts it on your calendar. A reminder, I'll just do it here. At 10:15, remind me the class break is in 5 minutes.
Creating a reminder. Here's your reminder for today at 10:20 a.m. Shall I create it?
Yes, create it. Okay.
Okay, I'll remind you.
So if we all think about reminders, it's essentially a list. You could have a list with things on it. And as you get to one thing, you cross it off. That's not time-based or anything. That's just a list of reminders. To-dos, for lack of a better thing. But I can also make them time-based, like this reminder. I said at 10:20, I think I did 10:15, but we were so close to 10:15 it might not have done it. So I said, remind me at 10:20 to do something. You could say, next Wednesday at 10 o'clock, remind me to call the dentist, and it will pop up and do that. If I say at 10:20 next Wednesday, remind me to call Pete Losey, it'll actually pop up and say, would you like to call his number? And it has the number because it's in my address book. So in a few minutes, this reminder is going to pop up, which is where you can like rush out of here in a hurry. Once the reminder pops up, we'll talk about it in a second. But the other cool thing about reminders is they can be location-based. So if I'm in a meeting here and I want to remember to do something when I leave here, I say, when I leave here, remind me to pack for the game.
Okay, just tell.
When I leave here, remind me to pack the car for the game.
Here's your reminder for when you leave here. Shall I create it?
Yes, confirm.
Okay, I'll remind you.
St. Mark's is not in my address book, but my phone knows where I am because it has GPS, a persistent GPS. It's thrown this geo fence around me, that orange fencing you see around everywhere. I'm following around and I have this big orange fence. It's probably about 300 feet around me. When I leave this spot and get in my car and start to go away, a reminder will pop up because it's location-based. What about when I get home, remind me to take out the trash since it's trash day. It knows you're home because it's in your address book, in your contacts. So when you get within 300 feet of your home, it'll pop up. And it'll keep popping up till you dismiss it. Siri is the easiest way to do reminders. It's one of the most useful features there is. And it's not, no criteria list, time-based or location-based. Keith.
When you use the reminder at 10:20, remind me of something. Does Siri use a 12-hour clock or a 24-hour clock? How do you know it was 10 a.m. and not 10:20, 22, 20 p.m.?
If you have a 24-hour clock, I think if you say p.m., if you say 2 p.m., she repeats it back to you. I'll remind you at 1400.
Okay.
I have a 12-hour clock, though I believe that's how it works with a 24-hour clock. Or you could say, remind me at 1400.
But you didn't use AM or PM when you made your statement.
Because it's already passed, because I didn't change it, I didn't say a day. She assumes some things. She says, okay, he probably means this, he probably doesn't mean at 10:20 tonight.
Thank you.
And here's a weird quirk, and I'm not a fan of this, but if I say, so for instance, tomorrow, 2 days from now is Monday. So if I say, remind me this Monday, it will give me a reminder this Monday. Don't make the mistake of saying, remind me next Monday, because it skips a week and does the next Monday. I think that's a common protocol. I'm not used to it, and you could make that mistake. So remind me Monday, she'll just do it 2 days from now. Remind me this Monday would be 2 days from now. Remind me next Monday is 9 days from now. Okay? Just a little quirk on that. So, but it gives you an excuse if you miss the appointment. You can say, oh, well, Siri messed up. So, and the dog ate my homework and everything else. So, question?
Does the location have to be in your contact list?
So the question is, does location have to be in your contacts list? For instance, if I want to say, when I get to Home Depot, remind me to buy 16 penny nails, Home Depot must be in your thing. But in your address, in your thing, boy, that's specific, in your contacts, but if it's in your contacts, you can say, remind me when I get there, and it's where there is. She can do some searching, and we're going to talk about the map after lunch, because that's another big thing, after the break, excuse me. But home is always and should always be in there so it remembers home. You could have a work address, say, when I get to work, remind me to call so-and-so, and it would pop up like that. That's accessing your contacts. So it has to be in your contacts. When I get to my brother's house, remind me to do this. So then if your brother's house is in your contacts. This is why also you want to keep your contacts up to date. Mary, and then I'll go to you.
So you should have your own name in your contacts?
Yes, and it's called the Me card. And what? Oh my gosh! Hang on one sec. Hang on. It's called the Me card, and in fact, when you go to websites, that's how it gets the autofill information. You might go to a website for the first time, and it says, "How the heck do they know my address?" It's getting it from your contacts and filling it in for you. So make sure those are corrections. You had a question?
My question's similar to that. So for home, does that under the Me card or your name, or do you want to have something listed as home as?
When you make a contact, on the left-hand side of each contact, you have a label that can be home, work, other, etc. So you kind of want to have that be specific. But you can say when you're at home, you can tell Siri, make this my home. And she'll use that GPS. And we do have chairs over here, by the way, too.
No, I want to be by my.
Okay. She's down praising Siri.
Is there a way to make her vocalize that? Or does it just pop up?
Not sure. She'll vocalize the appointments. When is my next reminder? Don't know. This is a test.
You don't have any reminders about this as a test.
Oh. When is my next reminder?
Here's your next reminder.
Oh. Yeah, that's an old one. That's dated. I never rejected it. Okay. So let's come back because we got tons to cover. Let's. Oh, by the way, you notice these reminders popped up on my devices. If I dismiss it on my iPad, it will remove it. It'll dismiss it from all my devices now. It used to not dismiss it. Bless you. All right. Vote early, vote often. Hi, Richard. The line form's here. We'll take numbers.
I already voted.
Good.
Turn off the
Thank you.
recording.
Turn off the recording.
Oh, thank you, recording.
I'm gonna go walk with my sister, coming back. We're still having the board.
Yeah, 1:15.
Okay.